Alrighty, folks, it is Thursday night. Believe it or not, it is May 12th. Folks, it is getting away from us. Man, in just a little bit. Hey, in fact, we're not far, folks, believe it or not, of getting ready to start shipping product for 2016. What you're going to be hunting with this year is fixing to start going out to national accounts. It is that time of year. It is already May 12th, and folks, in just a little bit, it's going to be 4th of July. And then, dude, it is on for 2016 fall whitetail hunting, and we've been talking about hunting the rut right here every Thursday night for the past 6 months. Actually, past 5 months right here into 2016, and tonight will be no different. We're going to give you some enlightening stuff tonight. We've got a gentleman that's going to come on that is an expert with Lyme disease, something we need to pay attention to. It's not just something with ticks out there with our white-tailed deer. It is a serious subject, and not only is it a serious subject, but we got a serious answer for it. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
You don't like old milk. Deer don't like old urine. Brown and cloudy urine reeks of ammonia. Ammoniated urine means it's old, not fresh, and it doesn't fool deer. Top Secret Deer Scents, the only scent on the market that's oxygen-free from collection to bottle. It's yellow and clear because it's fresh. It's the only scent on the market that says a deer is here now and not last week.
Can you believe it, really, folks? It's May 12th, and listen, one of the things we want to talk about tonight, it is almost mid-season. Of course, you know, the show's about hunting the rut, and we're always talking about pre-peak and post-rut, but we're getting ready as we're heading in. The whole process of pre-rut, or the peak of the rut, pre-peak and post, though season starts in the fall, those deer are getting ready. Once season ends, they start getting ready all year long. Now, one of the things that we've been talking about, and normally talk about from January up to pre-rut, is the animal, especially the spring and early summer and into summer, as in spring, early summer is where the white-tailed deer across America is recovering. You know, as we said many times before, your season ends ahead of us. We're in the southeast. You're a lot of you in the north and the northeast. Your season ends ahead of us. And yet ours ends, you know, the end of January, first Florida, where we're sitting right here tonight, ends the end of February. But yet our season ends later, a full 30, 45 days later, sometimes, some cases 60 days later. But yet our deer starts the recovery period way quicker than you, simply because of the weather. And we green up much earlier than you do. But now the north, you know, you've greened up, everything's looking good. Those deer are starting the recovery process. But one of the things that those animals have to tend with is the ticks, the mosquitoes, all the insects that comes with spring. It is just, it's miserable for us, it's miserable for them. But the problem is just not being miserable, as you're hearing all over TV now. In fact, they just did with the new Zika virus with the mosquitoes. But just this week, several sources came out and declared the Gulf Coast, not just Florida, but the entire Gulf Coast is ground zero for the Zika virus. And of course, all that's carried by the mosquitoes. And you know, of course, and if you watch this show, you realize that we have the perfect product for that, and it's called BioShield. And we're the only ones in the world. We have it in a 100% natural body wash. We have it in a laundry detergent. And of course, we have it in a 4 and 8 ounce spray. 8 hours of protection, 95% repellency. And folks, now listen, we're the only ones in the world with a body wash and a laundry detergent. Now think about that just a second. We all hunt. We all know to be able to wash your clothes. We know to take a bath, kill the human odor, and we know to take a field spray with us, because we get hot and sweaty going into the woods. We want to be able to kill that extra odor from the distance from the truck or the vehicle to where we're going to hunt. So we're already ahead of the curve, at least 14, 15 million deer hunters, to know to use the concept of the total protection of BioShield that gives you that protection. It repels ticks, mosquitoes, chiggers, black flies, any kind of biting insect. One of the things we're going to do tonight, though, we're going to talk about the whitetail, well, just not just even the whitetail, but any critter in the woods, including humans, as everything starts warming up. And it's been kind of cool down here in the southeast. I mean, we've had a relatively cool spring. You know, give case in point of that, I planted a garden 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, and I got stuff that still hasn't come up good and skips to where it's just too cool at night for it to come up. Some of the stuff's up, turnips and stuff's up, but the mosquitoes, as it warms up, those mosquitoes and those ticks is going to start being a greater problem, not only for us, but for those deer. Just like us, it will affect the health and the welfare of the deer, because there's nowhere they can run. They can't run, get in the house, or run, get in a truck, or run to the drugstore and get some BioShield. They're having to tolerate that stuff out there. And so we're going to talk about what to look for tonight from an expert and a company that absolutely is on the cutting edge of this. And so stay tuned. We're going to come back and we'll be able to talk to this gentleman, and we'll be able to, and feel free to call in and ask about the stuff that we're talking about. But I think you're going to find this interesting, but more importantly, you're going to find it vital for you and to protect your family, because Lyme disease is absolutely nothing to take lightly. As you're going to hear tonight, there's some serious stuff in this, and it'll also, in fact, we all know people who has gotten Lyme disease, and I personally know I know 2 people that's gotten it, and many of you have as well. So we're going to give you some answers for that tonight. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in just one moment.
Yeah, I'm gonna call back.
Rise and shine. It's time to hunt.
Repel and kill the bugs that bug you most with the all-natural 100% D3 BioShield.
You've waited your whole life for this moment. Don't spoil your opportunity because of poor preparation. Keep your optics clean and fog-free for a clear shot every time. Fog Zero.
Introducing Scent Defense, a revolutionary 3-in-1 formula from Top Secret. Infused with antimicrobial silver copper synergy technology to attack odor before it starts. Fortified with NeuroX to attack and repel insects instantly. Scent Defense is specifically formulated to attract deer while simultaneously destroying odor. Scent Defense, the 3-in-1 formula for success.
All right, guys, listen, we're back live, and tonight we're going to be talking about a subject that's dear to all of us. And you can see the gentleman down there in the left part of the screen right there. That's Lenny. Lenny, where are you based out of?
Based out of Durham, North Carolina.
Durham, North Carolina. Now, listen, I hear that accent, dog. That's not North Carolina. Where you from?
I am from New Jersey.
You can't hide it, man. You can't. Listen. Do you know many Lennys in North Carolina? Do you have many Lennys up there in North Carolina?
Can you repeat that again, Doc?
I said, do you have many Lennys, the name of Lenny up there in North Carolina?
No, I'm the only one.
I bet. All right, well, listen, Lenny, you and I have talked before, and some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about tonight, guys, Lenny works with a company, and Lenny's going to introduce this company to you, and you're going to find this conversation enlightening. It's not only we hunt, all hunters, 14, 15 million deer hunters, Lenny. And so the information that you're talking about, though it's for everybody in the country, it is absolutely geared to our guys, because our guys are not out in the backyard. They're in the woods, running around through the woods and the bushes where these ticks are. So kind of tell us something about your title and the company you're with, kind of introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So I work for a company called bioMerieux. We're one of the largest manufacturers in the world of medical tests and equipment. and I represent the company. I'm the clinical marketing manager for the entire U.S., specifically for Lyme disease.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And your company, and it's based there out of Durham.
Yes, our U.S. headquarters are in Durham, North Carolina, and we have locations all throughout the world.
You know, the Lyme disease came on, you know, people started talking about it, or I can remember it. I don't know, Lenny, I think, yeah, you deer hunt, correct?
That is correct. Since I was 9 years old.
Well, there's a gentleman down here, Lenny, in Evergreen, Eddie Salter. A lot of the guys that deer hunt knows Eddie. Eddie's several-time national and world champion turkey caller, big deer hunter. He's got a show called The Turkey Man. But he got Lyme disease years ago. I mean, I'm talking about, 20 years ago. And a lot of us know, in fact, my ex-wife got Lyme disease from seed ticks. And then and you could, when I knew we were going to do this, you might can help me and answer some of the questions, because it was a progression of decline that triggered other stuff. So
that is correct.
And so kind of walk us through, first of all, what is Lyme disease?
Well, Lyme disease comes from a bacterium called Borrelia burgdorferi, and it is transmitted through the bite of an infected tick. Now, a lot of people think Lyme disease originates in ticks and comes from ticks, and that's not true. Lyme disease, or the bacterium that causes Lyme disease, comes from the white-footed mouse.
Really?
So that's where it all starts. Yes, it comes from the white-footed mouse. So ticks, they first attach themselves to these white-footed mice, and they feed off these mice. The mice that have the bacterium get transmitted to the tick. So once the tick is done feeding, it drops off, crawls around, finds its next host. And once it latches onto a human, and if it does carry that bacterium, it'll transfer the bacterium to the human, and eventually it progresses and turns into Lyme disease in a human.
Well, is the white-footed mouse everywhere?
Yes,
So,
it's everywhere throughout the United States. That doesn't mean that every white-footed mouse
has it.
Carries the bacterium.
Well, what gives the Lyme disease to the white-footed mouse? I mean, how do they get infected with it?
Well, it's just nobody really knows how they pick up the bacterium. They just have the bacterium. They have Lyme disease. They carry the bacterium that causes it.
And then they become the host. They bite and they become the host, and that starts the cycle. So that would explain. The theory was, keep your yard cut, keep the limbs back, where the kids can play and stuff, and help keep the ticks down. But in fact, then the ticks could just be in the grass simply because of the white-footed mouse.
That's correct. That's correct, Don. I mean, I've walked through a field, a clean field that was just freshly mowed, and I walked through a field, got out of the field, and got to my car, and I would look at my pants and my shoes, and I had ticks crawling all over me. So just because there's no brush or bushes or leaves and branches all around you doesn't mean ticks are hanging around there. They could be anywhere.
Well, then, if that's the case, what about in big cities? You see cities like New York that's just infested with rats, mice and rats. Is the white-footed mouse in the cities? Because then Lyme disease is just not a rural thing. It can be, it could be inside of a city.
That's a good point. I personally haven't read. I've read a lot of studies on Lyme disease, and I personally haven't found anything that says that mice within in the cities have found to have been tested for this bacterium, and that hasn't been proven anywhere or shown anywhere yet to date. It will happen in the future, but.
Well, yeah, I wasn't thinking necessarily downtown in the big cities, but in the outer perimeters, and then it comes into the big neighborhood, the more the suburbs, and just gradually getting in. So the key to that is, and I did not know that. about Tom, did you guys know that about the white-footed mouse? So, I mean, that's worth the call in right there, because it blows a lot of myths that they think it starts that. Now, is there a, what's the difference between a seed tick and a deer tick? A seed, what kind of ticks is out there that are carriers?
Okay, so the tick that transmits the bacteria that causes Lyme is called the deer tick. And it's called the black-legged tick or deer tick. Now, the reason it's called the deer tick is not because it gets this Lyme disease or bacteria from deer. Okay? Deer, or the white-tailed deer, think of them as the bedroom for ticks. That is where all the breeding goes on for ticks. And that is why there's been such an explosion in Lyme disease, obviously because of the overpopulation of white-tailed deer in the United States.
Well, the ticks would also affect, coons, possums, other animals, obviously, but just because of the range of the whitetail and the sheer numbers of them, and the ability to travel and expand, they're the main culprit of the expansion of the tick?
That is correct. So deer, so they've done testing on deer to see if deer actually carry Lyme disease.
No, that's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, and they don't. They don't carry Lyme disease. There's no clinical evidence to show that deer do have Lyme disease, and they're considered, the bedroom, if you will, for ticks. However, domestic pets such as cats and dogs do get Lyme disease. And some of the symptoms there in your pets are basically really severe arthritis, similar to one of the symptoms that occur in humans.
Really? All right. So now that's interesting, because I've got 4 dogs, and I live out in Wilcox County, Alabama, where I live in. There's not 12,000 people in the entire county, and I'm 18 miles to the largest city. That's the county seat. It's got 3,000 people. It was 3,000 people before the war between the states, so it hasn't grown any. But these dogs, and I have miniature schnauzers, and I try to keep the yard stuff clean, and I really have very little problem, rarely ever, with ticks. But it's interesting that you say that, so ticks can give animals arthritis, or more specifically dogs and cats?
Dogs and cats, those are more of the main symptoms that you'll see when a dog or a cat does get Lyme disease.
Is the period about the same for symptoms to show up in a pet as it would in a human?
No, they're two totally different things.
Two totally different timelines.
In a pet, it can show up much later or much earlier. It just all depends. It depends on.
Can the vet say, okay, associate that directly to a Lyme disease? In other words, can they say, yes, this dog or cat has Lyme disease?
Well, looking for symptoms is half the battle. Ultimately, what you want to do is take a blood test and confirm with a blood test that, in fact, there is Lyme disease present.
Do you guys have a testing? And guys, and Lenny, correct me, but guys, Lenny's company is the world's largest at testing. You make all kind of testing stuff, and so
one of the largest in the world. Yes.
Yes. So, do you do anything inside of the pet industry, say for vets, perhaps, that could have their animals tested? Is it a test that an individual could test their animals, or is it something a vet would need to do?
So the test that we have right now is only for humans. It's a totally different test that is used in animals.
Do you guys...
Right now, we only manufacture the one for humans.
Okay. Well, we need to get together and talk about that, because I would imagine that would be a huge, certainly it's a big industry, but more than that, man, there's a lot of animals out there that, of course, schnauzers are just historically terrible about getting different stuff, allergies and whatnot. But, sure enough, people say, well, they're just getting old, so they got a bad back or a bad leg. But that could very well be something coming from ticks.
Exactly. So right now, there's about 30,000 reported confirmed cases per year. And, the CDC, they feel that's really underreported. They feel that's more up in the area of 300,000 that actually get infected with Lyme disease.
Now, is that 30,000, Lenny, dogs and cats or people?
No, that's people. That's people. We're moving to people now.
All right, so 30,000, you got a calculator back there? 30,000 divided by 50 is what? 600? How you like that math? Is it 600?
Sounds about right.
I sell deer urine, folks. I ain't bad at math. Well, think about that. So what we're saying is that if you want to put it in perspective, that's 600 cases per state on an average in America. And Alabama has about 68 counties, so divide 600 into 68, Tom. Divide 600 by 68. So when you do that, you'll start looking at people always think, Lenny, well, that's somewhere that's not here, but buddy, that'll put it that's an amazing statistic.
Yeah, and that's only, keep in mind, that's only actual confirmed tests. There's people that have no idea they have Lyme disease.
Yes. And
they just go on living with these symptoms, and they don't even think twice to get tested because there's not enough awareness out there around the disease.
When we first started talking, and we started talking about doing a segment on this, and how you going to do a segment on Lyme disease? Well, let me tell you, it is so. It not only affects humans, but it affects the welfare of the animals out there. I mean, it just irritates the dog mess out of deer and other animals, just like it would a dog. But he just did the number on that. That's almost 8.8, almost 9 on an average per county, just in the state of Alabama. So you start looking at that. That's noteworthy to pay attention to. And like you're saying, that's just what's reported, and probably how many times higher is what's not reported that really is? 2, 3, 4 times higher?
10 times? Yeah,
that's amazing, isn't it? Good gracious, does the medical industry, doctors, are they aware of these statistics and looking for it, for symptoms, or are they just kind of?
I think it's a little bit of a mix, and I'm going to give you an example. Me being a hunter on a yearly basis, after the hunting season's over, I take it upon myself to go get screened to get tested for Lyme disease. And about a month ago, I went to my doctor. I said, "Hey, I want to get tested for Lyme disease. My yearly thing. It's what I do." And he says, first thing he said is, "I'm not going to test you." I said, well, why not? He said, because you don't have the classic bullseye rash. And I said, and so what the classic bullseye rash is basically a circular rash at the site of where the tick would bite you. And over the period of a couple of weeks, it spreads. It can get as large as 12 inches in diameter. Yes, that is a classic sign, but what a lot of people don't know is 70 to 80% of people that become infected with Lyme disease only develop that rash. So there's another 20 to 30% of people that get infected but don't develop a rash.
Well, does the medical field, does the doctors not know that statistic?
Well, I went to my doctor and he said, "I'm not going to test you because you don't have a bullseye rash." I said, well, doc, hold on a second. And I said, let's go on your computer. I'm going to show you a statistic and on the CDC website. And I took him to the CDC website and showed him that only 70 to 80% of people who become infected with Lyme disease develop this rash. When I showed him that, he loosened up a little bit and he says, okay, you're right, let's test you. And he went on to test me. So I think you'll find a mix of doctors, some that are very well versed and some that don't know every little specific statistic that is reported by the CDC.
Well, as you're talking, I'm thinking, okay, because anybody that hunts has had ticks on them, but a tick though, to get Lyme disease, a tick's got to attach, obviously, and feed and transfer. Is that right? So a tick being on you, you're not going to get Lyme disease, but if they attach, that's the possibility. Now, should somebody go get tested if they've been bit by a tick and he's attached, they take him off, should they go ahead and be tested? Or how expensive is the test?
Absolutely. If you know you've gotten bitten by a tick, you should go see your doctor immediately. So there's two things here. If a tick does attach to you and bite you, and if you take it off immediately, there's a very high chance that you're not going to get Lyme disease if it is infected with that bacteria. So the CDC says that in order for you to become infected with Lyme disease by a tick that is carrying the bacterium, it has to be attached to your body for a minimum of 24 hours to fully transmit that bacterium into your body.
Okay, so it's got to feed.
If less than 24 hours, there's a high possibility you didn't contract anything. However, you should still follow up with your physician and take precautions.
Well, then they're going to have to feed for a while to be able to do it then. But it makes you wonder, how expensive is the test if I were to go to my doctor and say, "Hey, I want to be tested"?
It's covered by insurance. Your insurance will cover it. It's a simple screening test that they do. So if you get yearly blood work done, you can just throw it on there. Say, "Hey, doc, throw a Lyme test on there for me," and your insurance covers it.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I actually I do a yearly physical, and I'm fixing to have that done here in about 2 weeks. I'll ask for that, and I'll remind me, guys. We'll get you back on, and I'll tell you what the results were. But you would think that all the people, guys, what was the name of the guy? Where was that? He called himself the tick magnet. So we need to look that guy up and get him on the show with you, because this guy, he called himself the tick magnet, and because he used our product, and he was just, he was all excited. And him and his little girl, they had only gotten, they go to archery shoots, and they each got one on them, and he was just ecstatic. And I thought he was going to get mad, and I thought, well, gee, and he was tickled that he only had one on him. But he had used the spray, and he went back and used the body wash and the detergent to wash the clothes and then take a bath. 0. And to test it again, he took the guy that owns the store, sporting goods store, he didn't put any on, and him and his little girl did. That guy got ate up, and he didn't. But he said without it, he'd have 30, 40, 50 ticks on him at a time. He said he just...
And I'm gonna add to your story, Adon. So last year was my first year hunting in the state of North Carolina. I've hunted in New York State my whole life. And, over the last 3 or 4 years, I've been becoming a little more cautious of ticks and Lyme disease, just because from year to year, I just see more and more ticks on me, when I get out of the field. So last year was my first year hunting in North Carolina, and, I have 2 little kids now, and I just want to take all precautions necessary when going to the woods. So I came across your product on a website, BioShield, and he said, I've never used any type of repellent. It doesn't scare away deer, so this is a perfect combination. I said, let me give it a shot. I started using it last year, and I found nothing on me, and I had a run-in with a game warden in the woods, and we talked for a couple minutes. And I started asking questions, and I just asked him about ticks and Lyme disease. I said, hey, I just started hunting in North Carolina. Are ticks pretty bad down here? Because, I've been hunting all season, and, I haven't seen a tick on me. And he looked at me like I was from another planet.
I was fixing to say, dude, I guess so.
He said, that's very strange that you haven't found a tick from me. And I said, well, I've tried this spray. It's called BioShield. and it's been fantastic. And you made me a believer in BioShield.
Well, we appreciate that. And guys, listen, literally, I mean, Lenny had called us here a while back and kind of telling the story. I mean, we didn't know each other before then, did we? And in essence, you work for a company that tests for this stuff, and you use the product you bought it just like any other consumer, and used it. It's not a complicated thing, you know. All insects produces a compound called octopamine, and what our product is sort of like. Now, if Steve was sitting here, Steve is a compounding pharmacist, but in a Don Bell concept, it's like a firing pin firing. They're laughing at me. A firing pin firing, and so what it does, it blocks that signal, and it shuts them down, and it will almost shut them down instantaneous. And any kind of biting insect, you know, but ticks, mosquitoes, chiggers, black flies, all that stuff. But yes, what county did you live in New York?
Orange County.
Where's that in the state? What big city?
You know where Slotsburg, New York is?
What part of New York? Central, up, north, and south?
South. So it's about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour outside of New York City.
Okay. Due south or southeast?
Southeast.
Okay. In fact, I probably come through there 3 or 4 weeks ago. I came around. Actually, I was supposed to come around the city. I did go around the city going, and some way or another, I wound up coming back through the city, which was a cluster. You do not want to do that. I highly recommend not doing it, especially in a truck that says "Top Secret Deer Scent" on it. As you come through the Bronx, get a lot of looks. So
I'm sure you do.
I do. So ticks. So this guy, we really need to try to figure out who that guy is, because he needs to be tested. Because he said him and his little girl, I mean, 30, 40, 50 ticks on him at a time. So you know he needs to be tested. So when I go, I just tell the doc, hey, I want to be tested. Is there a certain test I ask for? Or I need to test for Lyme disease while you do it?
Yeah, so the doctor will know what type of testing is required. Right now, there's really only one type of test and a confirmatory test to do. So the docs will know, and the labs will know what type of test to use.
Well, that phone's supposed to be off. It beeped. Give you an example. When I was dating my wife, I restore old cotton plantations, and very rural county. And I bought a house and I was going to restore it, and I was showing her, and we was walking around the property, and the grass wasn't high, but she found that evening she found several seed ticks on her, a smaller tick, but she found I don't know, half a dozen or so on it, and later she was diagnosed that she had Lyme disease, and she's a registered RN, and her specialty was processes. So I mean, she paid attention to stuff, but she started getting tired. Her joints started hurting. So she went, and it was diagnosed with Lyme disease. Then that turned into, guys, how do you pronounce that? I never can pronounce it. Lenny, it's when you fibromyalgia. Yeah. But it turned into something else, which makes you really tired and gives you headaches. And then she started having migraines. And so, yeah, but it just gradually, and then she was always tired. And I mean, we had her to, half a dozen different doctors around, and you want to come get that? A half a dozen doctors around, and it gradually got worse and worse and worse. Now, thank you, sir. Now, Eddie Salter, which all the hunters know, Eddie fought that for years. Now, can you be cured of Lyme disease?
Yes. So standard treatment for the CDC is antibiotics.
Antibiotics.
Antibiotics. So once the doctors test you and they confirm that you do have Lyme disease, they'll put you on a specific antibiotic treatment.
Is it something that takes, are you on it a long period of time? Hey,
Well,
Tom,
that depends.
hand me that back a second. It may be something I need to
How early
see.
they catch you, or how early they catch Lyme disease in your body. If they catch it early and up front, the treatment won't probably last that long. But if they catch it in the later stages, the treatment may take a lot longer.
Is it worse on children than it is adults or older? In other words, if a tick bites a child versus a teenager versus somebody our age or an older person, is it worse? For one,
I wouldn't say it gets worse in children or middle age or elderly. But what I can say is that it is debilitating. So if you have an elderly person who can't really move around that well from the start, Lyme disease is only going to slow them down even more.
and walk us through the stages and the symptoms. We talked about what your doctor didn't recognize, and of course, and then you educated him. Once you get past the symptoms and you're diagnosed, not diagnosed, what occurs?
When you're not diagnosed?
In other words, right, if you get it and you don't go to the doctor, you're not being treated, and you don't know what it is, what are the stages of progression that it goes through? And I'm assuming it's triggering other things, and it's like a snowball.
Absolutely. So basically, the classic symptoms are the ones that you mentioned, and the bullseye rash. It's fever, chills, headaches. You may get some muscle pain, some joint pain. Without treatment, over time, that starts spreading and gets worse. You start getting really severe joint pain. It can cause your spinal cord and your brain to swell a little bit. You'll get facial drooping, which is called Bell's palsy. You'll get to the point that if you do any type of strenuous activity or exercise, you'll wake up the next day not being able to move because of the pain that your body will be in. Ultimately, it'll lead, if untreated, it'll lead to nerve damage, and that's when you get into real problems.
Does the joint pain or swelling or any of that start at the occurrence or around the occurrence of the bite? In other words, would it go to the nearest joint, or would it show up, say, if I got bit on the left leg, it could show up in my right elbow?
Yeah, it could start showing up anywhere, but it will start showing up in the smaller joints, and if left untreated, over time, it'll start moving to the larger joints in your body. So
it would go to the hands, perhaps before the elbows and the shoulders and the knees?
Exactly. That's how they understand how it spreads, if it's not treated over time.
So people think that they may be getting arthritis.
Correct.
And I think, and arthritis may run in the family, so the person's going, I'm going to have to deal with it like my dad did, or my mom did, is in essence could be having stages of Lyme disease and not even know it.
Exactly.
Mercy, you just got to think sitting here tonight, forget the U.S. population, just how many out of the 14, 15 million deer hunters that is going through that.
Absolutely, and that's what we're trying to do here.
Well, that's some statistics. Yeah.
We're not here trying to sell product or anything like that. We're here to create awareness. And I'm going to tell you a story how there's just not enough awareness out there to the public. In 2002, there was a Lyme vaccine that was approved by the FDA on the market. And in 2002, there was the vaccine, okay, for Lyme disease, and they removed it from the market in 2002 because the company that was manufacturing the vaccine said there just isn't enough demand for a vaccine, and therefore we're not going to make it anymore. So again, it comes down to awareness. People need to be aware of the disease, and if they feel that they've been exposed to a tick-infested environment, they should just go get screened anyway on a yearly basis.
Well,
and if not on a yearly basis, if they're experiencing any of the symptoms that we spoke about today.
Well, when you would think that you say the blood work or the test, is it expensive? Is it? I mean,
it's no more. It's not more expensive than it costs to do routine blood work.
Okay.
On yourself.
And
on a yearly basis.
And insurances would cover a lot of that.
Absolutely.
Then you would.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it be great then, or wouldn't it make sense that, lack of a better way of doing that, I don't know if you could do it, but just screening with children going to school every year, of course a child could have it and not even pay attention to it, but if you just were to get screened, part of the screening to go into school would be have blood work to just test for that.
Absolutely.
But because that's sort of like, if you restore an old house and it looks bad there, and when you pull it off, what you realize is bad all the way to over there. So once you pull it off, you got to go all the way over there to get solid again. Well, a lot of people are just treating this, and it goes all the way over there.
Exactly.
Man, it's fascinating to realize that it's almost a sleeping giant.
That's exactly the perfect way to put it.
Because everybody that's ever killed a deer has killed a deer at some point is just absolutely covered with ticks.
Absolutely.
I mean,
it doesn't end there. I mean, even taxidermists. I know taxidermists that have contracted Lyme disease, and it makes sense, right?
Right. Yeah.
You bring your deer into a taxidermist, and guess what? The deer's somewhat probably still warm, and the taxidermist has to do his thing. And there's an opportunity in there for a tick to latch on him and bite him.
If let's say, Lydia, you and I are hunting, and we get a tick on us, we come in and we take our clothes off, and the tick's still on the clothes, will the tick die, or will the tick migrate and try to find another host in a house, in a setting? In a central air, or what I'm saying, outside but inside, what happens to that tick?
That is the number one goal of a tick, is always to find a host. It's constantly looking for a warm host to feed on. Over time, if the tick doesn't eat, it dies.
Is there
what that period of time is? I really couldn't tell you right now, but that's what it essentially does. It just continuously looks for a host to feed on.
You know what? I just thought of something. Man, I need to. First of all, I do as many or more seminars in the hunting industry out and around the country as anybody. I need to bring this up into the thing, but in lack of a better way, boy, it certainly would be a great sales tool for BioShield, because if you, first of all, just common sense says wash your clothes and stuff, but forget about washing your clothes going. You be washing those clothes when they come in, because all those kids playing outside, and the ticks gets in the pants, even though it's not on, mama thinks it's fine, but yet the ticks are still in the clothing, is going to find the dog, or will migrate, and of course the dog is up on the couch.
Exactly.
And you just gotta, even though, a lot of people think they get inside, they're dead. So, but you answered the question, how long can they live without being on a host? And that just varies, or just no studies been on it?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to answer that right now. I can certainly find out and get back to you, definitely announce that.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting statistic. And give you another example, Lenny, that if you take carpet, and if anybody's got pets, and some years, especially if you live in a sandy soil area, and you get an outbreak of fleas, them animals is going to bring it inside. Well, if they bring it inside, now they're in your carpet. So, and then you got to get a pest control person to come in and put junk down inside your house. Our product, like, you ever heard of the rug doctor? You can get it at a grocery store, and you shampoo your carpet. You can actually put our stuff in something like that and shampoo your carpet. So now you're killing anything that's in the carpet. So, and doing it naturally. It's really fascinating. We ought to do this on the show one night, is to show a tick and put our stuff on it and let you watch it kill him.
Yeah, that would be great.
We need to do that. Yeah, Tom said I can do that. So, but because you can see it just shutting him down. When a tick gets full, he drops off. That's correct. Now, correct me on this. People think ticks are, a lot of different people have different concepts of the way ticks bite. But do not ticks just kind of climb up on a limb or grass and they throw the little things up in the air and they hook on to anything comes by? Sort of like Velcro?
That is exactly how it works. And I'm gonna tell you a story of I went for a hike one time, and I came back from the hike, and I was already aware of making sure I had no ticks on me. And I got to my car, and I sat up on the seat of my car, and I wanted to change my boots and my clothes. I took off my socks, and I kept my feet up in the air, making sure my feet did not touch any of the blades of grass, that were under my car. So I took off my socks, and I wasn't paying attention for a split second, and my foot touched one blade of grass. It was literally, must have been half a second, and I felt my foot touch the grass. I looked at my foot, and there was a tick on there.
Yeah.
Just from touching one blade of grass in half a second it happened.
I mean,
that's how easy it attached to you.
So what they do is they just kind of climb up on grass or limbs and just hang there waiting on a host to come by, and they just hook onto it and go on.
That's exactly what happened.
What about weather? I mean, does cold weather affect them?
Yeah, cold weather definitely slows them down, especially when you get closer to the freezing temperature. You really don't see ticks on the move because it's so cold out that they try to stay attached to their host as long as possible because it's so cold out.
Well, will it kill them or just slow them down?
The cold weather?
Yes.
I don't believe cold weather kills the ticks. I think it just slows them down.
And they try to stay on the host longer.
Yeah. So even if they're feeding on the host and they're done feeding, if it's colder outside, if it's closer to freezing temperatures, they will just hang out on the host, not necessarily feeding on the host. Yeah,
and you can see that. Back to a deer hunter, and anybody watching the show tonight that's not a deer hunter, you can ask deer hunters that when you shoot a deer and you can just see them hanging their bull. I mean, they're just full, and just hanging there, much like you would see on a dog or a cat sometimes. But so an animal could do it and drop it off in the house. Of course, he's going to drop off when he's full, right? So the dog comes in, the cat comes in, he drops off on the couch or whatever, and so. Is there a period how long he'll feed if he's gorged? Do they stay on the host till they're completely full, or do they stay on the like for a better way of asking it, do they just get them a snack and let go, or they're there for 3 meals?
Yeah, they'll stay on the host until they're completely full and engorged, and then they'll detach from the host or from the area of where they bit the host.
I've seen, of course, again, everybody's pulled ticks off of cats, dogs, themselves, and you see them at different stages. Of course, we've all pulled big ones. I mean, just to where it's just almost perverted looking, they're so big. Will all of them get that big if they all stay on there that long?
Yes, but it also depends on the size of the tick. So you have different sizes. You have the nymph, the larva, and then the adult size. And they vary from small to large. So the larger the tick, the longer it'll take for it to get filled up with blood and detach.
All right, so now then you take what you just said then, it takes longer, and let's go back to the 24-hour, needs to stay attached 24 hours, then the small one, does it matter? Can the small one give it to you as quick as the big one?
No, if the small ones have it, and if the big ones have it, it's a minimum of 24 hours.
Right, so it don't matter how long they're gorging, it's the fact that they're on you. Right. So if one's a slower than the other one, it doesn't matter as long as they're in the connected and back and forth. It's that's how they're doing it.
Yeah, that's right, Don. But just keep in mind, with the smaller ones, they're so small that sometimes it's difficult to see by yourself unless somebody else is checking your body for ticks.
Well, that's what I'm saying. A seed tick.
Easy to see.
Yeah, we got what we call little seed ticks. Which tick is what we call a seed tick? Are you familiar with what we call a seed tick?
No.
It's a little bitty tick. I mean, they're real small. But any tick can give you Lyme disease. Those that are infected.
Yeah, but mainly the bacterium has only been found in the black-legged tick.
Okay.
Or commonly known as the deer tick.
Okay, all right. So then the seed tick, so it's that predominantly one, and which is located in what all regions of the U.S.?
It's located all over the U.S.
Does it go all the way up into Canada?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Has the tick always been here? Meaning, when we were young.
Yeah, I mean, they've always been here. How long this bacteria has been around that causes Lyme disease, I couldn't answer that. But yeah, the ticks have always been around.
Maybe it's, when growing up and stuff, they were on you and you paid attention, it's just a bug and you got it off. But, once Lyme disease, people started talking about it. And there for a period when it first came out, 15, 20 years ago, everybody was hot and heavy on it, and then it just kind of leveled off. I don't know if people just got used to just looking for it and with no big deal get them off. Is that what's happening, and why you guys are doing what you're doing is because people have kind of gotten accustomed to it? And
yeah, that's a good point, Don. And I think to your point, I think people have become a little comfortable because of the endemic areas. And what I mean by that is the Northeast accounts for 96% of all the reported Lyme disease cases in the country.
The Southeast?
So when I say 96%
of the Southeast. North.
Okay. The Northeast, yes.
Okay.
The Northeast. And so that's one of the big endemic areas. The other big endemic area is the upper Midwest, such as states like Wisconsin and the surrounding states. There are Lyme disease cases that are reported throughout the country, but people look at this map, and they see, okay, I don't live in the endemic areas, therefore I'm not going to pay attention to whether or not I've been infected or bitten by a tick.
Right.
And that's totally wrong. You should always be on the lookout. No matter where you are, you can get bitten. If you travel to one of those areas, just because you traveled there on vacation, let's say, and then you come back home, you think you don't have Lyme disease, that may not be the case. If you were bitten and you may not know about it, you could have contracted Lyme.
Well,
so you can get Lyme disease anywhere.
Will a tick migrate? Or can a tick get on, let's take your analogy, we're hunting in Wisconsin and, we throw our clothes together. Of course, nowadays, in this day and time, we can hunt the this morning in Wisconsin and be sitting in North Florida this afternoon. So the ticks that we had on us, we throw our clothes in a bag and fly into Pensacola. I got them in Pensacola now. So can a tick, lack of a better way, migrate? In other words, is that how they get from Wisconsin to here, or is it just a slow progression? In other words, why aren't they spreading? Because we got...
It's a little of both. They are spreading, but the way that they do migrate is not by themselves. So the hosts that they latch onto are birds. And as we all know, birds migrate south of winter. And that's how they're able to really migrate from one state to another, especially in Texas.
And that's it's kind of amazing, isn't it? Because you go back to the deer. I don't know if a lot of people know this watching, but Alabama, we have more deer per square mile. It has been for the majority of my life. South Carolina argues with us now. Mississippi is really coming on strong, but I'm talking about the sheer number linear of deer per square mile. But what we have is we don't have but 228,000 hunters. So we're not putting a lot of pressure on them. We got a lot of land and a lot of browse, and they breed like rabbits. You would think then we got a lot of hosts. But
exactly.
Though we see it a lot, what did you think in your personal experience, how many deer you've hunted and killed you find ticks on? Say in New York, where you're from.
All of them.
All of them. See,
every single one of them.
Well, now down here, not every deer we kill will have a tick. But it is common to find them, and some of them you find it on is just absolutely, looks like warts. They'll just be eat up, hanging everywhere.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
Is it because that particular deer was just in a real bad place, or that particular deer could be a deer magnet, sort of like the guy that called in? Can a person have a chemical output that draws them better than Tom, or does it not matter?
The only output is warmth. If a tick finds a warm host, it will latch on and it will bite that warm host.
Well, yeah.
To your point, maybe the deer that don't find anything, you don't find any ticks on, maybe they were in areas where the population of deer was not really that high. I don't know what the case is there, but again, me being a hunter from upstate New York, having hunted there all my life, I can tell you every single one that I've taken has had ticks on it. And New York being one of the main endemic areas. That's
crazy. Well, I tell you what, Liddy, and this is crazy because when we first did it, and folks, first of all, Lenny, an hour goes by so fast it's crazy. But having said that, you would think, how are you going to talk about Lyme disease? And we're just casually talking, and I assure you, Lenny, there's people watching us going, dang. Because look, I've been in the hunting industry 30 years. I grew up in Alabama and I hunt all over North America. I'm no different than anybody else, and I'm sitting here and I'm watching the guys in the control room and they're going, really? So you're enlightening us on something that you just flat need to pay attention to, whether you hunt or you're not. I mean, it can be everywhere. I tell you what, Tom, if we can do this, then if you don't mind, we'll give you a buzz back and reschedule you maybe in a week or so, couple weeks, and let us get some more feedback in and questions from consumers, and we'll see if we can get you back on, if you don't mind, and we'll further this and get more into the stuff that you're doing and the opportunities where you're going to be in your company, and a little more in what your company does. And what you're looking for partners. We're trying to do some stuff with you to help aware of this, obviously the show tonight. But there's a lot of people out there need this information. And maybe we can get some Facebook questions and stuff, certainly will after the show tonight, and then get you back on, schedule you back in, say, in a week or two.
Absolutely, Don. And also what I want to say is, we've developed a website specifically for education on Lyme disease.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to check that out, I did send Tom the website, but I'll tell you www.lymehunter.com. That's LYME hunter.com. So it's just basically, it's for patients and education on Lyme disease, all about the symptoms, how to remove a tick from your body if you get bitten, all that good stuff.
Yeah, because there's still so much to talk about here, and we'll get that up, and we'll post it on our Facebook, and start getting some more questions out there, and let's say not this coming Thursday, but maybe the next Thursday. Give us this week to get some stuff in, and maybe check your calendar and let Tom know, not next Thursday, but the next Thursday. Tom, what's the date on that? Whatever the date is, today's whatever, 12th, 10th. Yep. And Tom will give you a buzz back, or you can give us a buzz and let us know. Not this Thursday, 2 weeks from tonight. And if you're available, we'll get some people out there and let them call in and talk to you, ask you a question.
Sounds great. I look forward to it.
Well, we appreciate it. And Lenny, listen, and you've been in North Carolina how long?
I've been in North Carolina since September of last year.
That's a good place to be. North Carolina's a good state. And listen, and listen, that music means they're fixing to close my butt out. But let me tell you something. You see North Carolina with the with the bathroom law. You know, the North Carolina bathroom law that's going on. You know, with the gender you can't go in and stuff. They're saying don't get into that, Don. Don't get into that. Well, North Carolina's got common sense. So, all right. Well, look, Lenny, we'll get with Tom. We appreciate you calling in. Very enlightening, and I mean that personally. And so I know a lot of people's got a lot out of that. And we'll talk to you. Tom will give you a buzz. We'll reschedule you for 2 weeks from tonight.
Perfect. And I want to thank you again for having me on the guest on your show.
Hey, man, we appreciate it, Lenny. Thank you so much. You be careful this week. Stay away from ticks. And we'll post that on the site. Guys, listen, an hour's come and gone, and absolutely amazing, fascinating tonight. You think, how can you do a show on Lyme disease in an hour? And you can see, literally, there's so much yet to learn. And we look forward to talking to Lenny in a couple of weeks. Listen, got questions? Facebook us, email us, Skype in, call us, and be thinking and telling your friends about it. And in 2 weeks, Lenny will be back, and you'll be able to ask questions. We'll post it on our Facebook, and we'll see you next Thursday night at 7 o'clock.